The upcoming stories can all be found in various religious texts, but the atheist content creators telling the stories are drunk. So, whilst the stories are genuine, the details may be embellished. A little. Welcome to Holy Spirits.
Do unto others before they do unto you.
Like, imagine you're a senior citizen, or you're a couple senior citizens, like wandering around in the desert. Like, what do you think? How do you think they passed the time as old people just wandering in the desert? Like, did they have shuffleboard? Did they have like golf? Like,
tapping that ass, man. Did you not hear the story? She was 65 years old and so banging the Pharaoh of Egypt needed to have it. You know, he was hitting it every day out in the desert. He probably didn't even want to go to Egypt. He's like, look at that green. That's some good stuff. I mean, what would you do if you were like stuck out in the middle of the desert with a 70-year-old Cindy Crawford? For you guys who are younger and may not know who Cindy Crawford is, she's hot. Hello, I am Chris Mallard. I'm the host of the Daily Atheist Morning Show, and I am here to drink some beer with you and to talk about the story of Abram and his lovely sister wife that he gave away to the Pharaoh in Egypt. So we're going to talk about that today. That is one of my favorite Bible stories. He's such a glorious leader of a man. He sets example, you know. Pardon me. Sorry. So let me tell you about the story of Abraham. Now, it's actually Abram and Sarai. Sarah? I think it's Abram and Sarai at this point. It's Abram and Sarai at this point. That's what we're going to go with. Anyway, at this point, they start the story, and Abram is probably like 70 years old. At the beginning of this story, we're going to learn. He's probably 70, and his wife, Sarai, I think it's Sarai, she is 60, 65-ish. That's how old they are when they start the story. So they leave Abram's father's home and they travel throughout the desert for a little while. This is kind of the fun part. So when you think about it, how many years do they travel around in the desert? That's probably some hard years on a person, especially if you're already in your elderliness. Anyway, so they travel around the desert and then they decide to go to Egypt because a plague forced them to Egypt. And then when they get to Egypt, Abram's wife is so hot, so sexy. This dilapidated desert daisy is so beautiful that Abram is afraid that if the Pharaoh's men see her, they will tell the Pharaoh how beautiful she is, and the Pharaoh will kill him in order to take his wife. So in order to avoid that, what he tells her is to make sure, tell them that I'm your brother. Okay? That way they don't kill me, pretty much. So he tells them, well, they go into the city. Okay. So, and sure enough, as he predicted, she is so hot, so beautiful that the Pharaoh's men instantly see her and they're like, wow, look at that grand granny. And they have to run and tell the Pharaoh. So they go tell the Pharaoh. And the Pharaoh, of course, has got to have him some of that. So one of the things is whenever you consider it, they went into Egypt pretty much broke. And then when they left Egypt, they were so wealthy and had so many coins, cattle, slaves, servants, all this business that Abram and his nephew Lot almost got into a fight or had a disagreement because their tribes couldn't the land couldn't support them both because they were so wealthy. So you got to ask yourself, and all that wealth they got from Egypt. I just want to mention. So Abram gave his wife to the Pharaoh for some coin, cattle, and slaves. And apparently she gave the Pharaoh the crotch cooties. Yes, because shortly thereafter, the Pharaoh gives her back to Abram and is like, what have you done to me? You've given her to me, and now me and my entire household has this disease or sickness kind of thing. Give me a break, right? So the Pharaoh gives her back. She gives him the crotch cooties. What does that tell you about Abram, though? Clearly, Abram must have had, So that's what they did. Abram gave his sister wife. Oh, wait, she was his sister, by the way. She was his sister. That's kind of the deal. And his wife. She gave his sister wife to the Pharaoh for coin, cattle, and slaves. The Pharaoh got the Crotch Cooties from Abram's sister wife. And then he sent them away. He said, go away. Take her and go. And one of the things you might notice is that despite how angry he was with Abram and Sarai, Sarah, damn it. No matter how angry he was, despite how angry he was, he didn't ask for his stuff back. You know why? Because you don't ask for your stuff back from people who gave you the cooties, right? Just keep it. Just take your shit and go. So Abram now has all this gold and cattle and slaves and all this. Now, it sounds like an isolated incident. Weird, strange. I know it's true. But later on, whenever we get into the story, the same thing happens. Abram runs into another Pharaoh, another king. He's a king, not a Pharaoh, I don't think. Runs into a king and then offers up his sister wife to the king. Now, in this case, this particular king, and I don't remember his name. I think he was Genesis 20. Let me drink my beer, make sure I know. Yes, Genesis. No? Yeah? No? Wait. Yeah. Definitely Genesis 20. In Genesis 20, he does it again. And this time the king has a dream and does not have carnal affairs with Abram's sister wife. And he takes it. This is where we find out at this point, we don't know if she's his sister. We just know she's his wife. And so this king takes Sarah back to him, Sarai, back to him, and says, why did you do this to me? Why did you give her to me and say she was your sister when she was your wife? And sorry, my eyes are yawning. And Abram tells him, this is where we learn. Abram says, well, she is my sister and my wife. So for those of you who don't know, who are watching the show, thank you very much, by the way, for watching the Holy Spirits. It's a lot of fun. I very much appreciate Dr. Ben for inviting me. For those of you who don't know, Abram later becomes Abraham. Abraham is the Abraham that you might know of as in the Abrahamic religions. This is the father of all of the religions, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. This is the guy that started it all. Holy, holy is he. Goes around in the desert, gives his sister wife. And, that's something else I want to mention also about this particular story and these characters is that Abram's uncle married his own niece, his dead brother's daughter. Abram married his sister wife. There was just a lot. There was a lot of incest in Abraham's family. So it's really one of those things that you even have to ask yourself. I mean, pardon me. You have to ask yourself, all right, me and you, we're going to sit down, right? We're going to write a holy book. We're going to tell the story of this person. And we're going to list off all these horrific things. Like that's good. Like it's good that he gave his sister wife away to the Pharaoh. Just that alone. That you would write that in a holy text. I mean, there's other things that we learn about Abram a little while later. Shortly after we discover that Abram has the crotch cooties, he's got to have a crotch cooties, right? His wife has the crotch cooties. It's one of those simple logic games. Anyway, so Abram has the crotch cooties. And then I think it's Genesis chapter 15. Wait a second. Let me ask the beer of knowledge. Yeah. It is chapter 15. In chapter 15, it opens with, and the Lord spoke to Abram in his head. And Abram had a vision of the Lord or something like that. Abram started hallucinating and having all these visions shortly thereafter. One of the things we do know about some sexually transmitted diseases is, given enough time, they do tend to scramble the brain. And so we have him. We know he had, the crotch cooties. And then shortly after, he starts talking to God, but not God. like just in his head. It even says it's just a vision. And then shortly thereafter, he starts cutting off the end of his dick. I'm just saying, that's sort of what happens. If you line out the progression, it just really does kind of seem to me like there was some sort of issues going on there. Anyway, so that pretty much is the story. Now, you're like, Chris, that's a fantastic story. And you're a wonderful storyteller despite the amount of alcohol. This is not my first. I started early to get ready for the show. And then we had Tech Gremlins. Anyway, so you're not going to believe me when I tell you, and I believe it's his grandson. His grandson does the same thing. He takes his wife and gives her to another man, claiming she's his sister in order to gain fortune. Genesis chapter, what was that? Chapter 25. Genesis chapter 25. So it would seem like if you're going to follow the biblical example, you should probably marry your sister. Maybe they got it right in the Appalachians. I don't know. I'm sorry. Appalachians, you wonderful people. That's pretty much the story, though. To kind of wrap it all up into a single thing, essentially, Abram, the father of the Abrahamic religions, gave his sister wife to the Pharaoh of Egypt, giving him thusly a sexually transmitted disease. She gave him back. They got to keep all the wealth that they got because of her wonderful cooch, hoo-ha. It must have been some fantastic hoo-ha. I'm just saying, skilled woman. But that's the whole deal. She had to be at least like 70, 75 years old when they rolled into Egypt. I'm just saying that she was 65 before they wandered the desert for several years. So anyway, we don't judge. Gilfs are good. So yeah, that's basically the story. These are the examples set in the Bible. And then again, like I said, the grandson goes on to do it too. I think I don't remember the wife's sister's name. Anyway, so this is my Holy Spirit story. Thank you for having me.
Ask of me, and I shall give thee the heathen for thine inheritance, and the utmost corners of the earth for thy possession. And I shall break them, the rod of iron. Thou shalt smash them into pieces like a potter's vessel. Be wise, therefore, ye kings, be instructed, ye judges of earth. Kiss the Son, lest he be angry, and you perish in the way. If his wrath be kindled but a little. Yeah.
If Elijah and Elisha were both in the Thunderdome, who would win, and how would they win?
Well, here's the thing. Do you know the seminal work Dragon Ball Z?
Yes.
What you're asking is, if Goku and Gohan were in the Thunderdome, who would win? Goku pre-death, Gohan post-death. Here's the thing. One passes their power onto the other. Oh God, I'm so gassy. As I know it, and as I was sort of referencing it, Elijah and Elisha was the whole story about the bears and the kids, right? And we'll get to that, right? We'll get to it. But there's way more shit in that book. Way more shit in that chapter. And it gets very, very weird. So, our story starts in.
You gotta introduce yourself first before you tell the story.
Oh shit! Yeah. Okay. So I am Jamie the Blind Limey. I am a pro-am atheist communicator online. I do shows sometimes in a place with people. I have co-hosted with the beautiful and lovely Dr. Ben many times, and it's great and cool. And anytime anyone says I like you, I like what you do, I'm like, what? Why? I'm always very stunned when people actually give a shit what I say. But here we go. So,
tell the audience what story you're telling.
So my story is in the first story I'm telling is in the Bible. It's 2 Kings 2. Now, I have previously in other places referenced 2 Kings 2 verse 26, I think. It's the very, very end of the story. In getting a Christian to admit that it's okay to sick bears on kids. And that was fun. But now I've actually read the whole thing. It gets so much weirder than that. So we start in a place called Gilgal, I think, if I can remember well. And we have Elijah and Elisha. And we must remember the difference. Elijah is the older, and Elisha is his younger apprentice, whatever. Right? So they start in Gilgal, and they must travel to Bethel. And in this story, they have both been told that Elijah will be taken up to heaven in a whirlwind. This becomes important later. So Elijah is kind of like doing his last mission, his like final grand tour. And Elisha, his apprentice, is following him. They get to Bethel. And Elijah says, Elisha, you must stay here. Don't come with me. I'm going to go on myself. And Elisha is like, no. You, as long as you live and as long as God lives, then I will be with you. And I'm kind of reading this like a kind of annoying little brother, like, yeah, I'm going to go with you. Oh, fine. Okay, fine. So they go to Bethel, and then they leave Bethel. And Elijah says, and now I must go to Jericho. And Elisha's like, I'm coming with you. He's like, oh, fuck. Stay here in Bethel. He's like, no. Okay, fine. We'll go to Jericho together. And they go to Jericho together, and then 30 prophets from Jericho come out, and they say to Elisha, don't you know that your master will be taken up to heaven today? And he's like, yeah, I know. Don't fucking shut up. I know. Shut up. And Elijah's like, okay, stay in Jericho. And he's like, no. As long as you live and as long as the Lord lives, I'll be with you. He's like, fucking fine. Right, we're going to the Jordan, the River Jordan. And they both go there, and the 30 men wave them on. And when they get to the Jordan, which is the river, as you may know, Elijah is like, okay, oh shit, I think I may have missed out. And there's another town in there somewhere. I think I may have fucked it up. But anyway, there's another town in there, and they do the same thing. It's very boring at the start. Elijah's like, I'm going here. And Elisha's like, I'm coming with you. And Elijah's like, just stay here. And he's like, no. They get to the River Jordan, and Elisha and Elijah are there. And Elijah, old man, takes his cloak off and wraps it around his hand like he's about to break into a fucking car, and essentially punches the river in half. He's like, that Moses guy, he had a good idea. I'm going to do that, only a bit smaller. So he smacks the river, and the river parts itself so he can cross, because he can't be bothered to find a bridge. I mean, who can be bothered to find a bridge? And they both cross, and the onlookers, the 30 prophets are like, wow, crazy shit, man. Okay. So Elijah and Elisha walk across the split river. And Elijah's like, well, what do you want? What? Elisha, what do you want from me? And Elijah is like, what do you want? And Elisha's like, I want to have a double measure of your spirit upon me. Now, I'm down with that. Any man who is down for double measures of spirits, sounds good to me. But Elijah says, it's difficult, man. That's going to be hard. Because if you see me taken up to heaven, then you will have my power upon you. You will have the Spirit upon you. But if you do not, then you will not. And me as a reader, I'm like, okay, cool. He's going to, Elijah's going to, keel over, and then Elisha will watch his spirit rise to heaven. But that's not quite what happens. Remember at the start we talked about whirlwinds. So Elijah throws off his cloak, the one that he wrapped around his hand to punch a river in half. And from the heavens, a literal whirlwind comes down. And horses of fire, like fiery horses, like a fucking Pokemon, like goddamn Rapidash comes down with chariots of fire. I guess that's what the song from that movie that one time was named after, comes down and literally physically take him up to heaven in a whirlwind. Up he goes, and Elijah's like, and Elisha's like, whoa, fucking crazy. He witnesses this mad anti-gravity horse malarkey going up to heaven, and takes up, well, first of all, he does a Hulk Hogan. He fucking rips his own clothes off for some reason, and then picks up Elijah's cloak and walks back to the Jordan River and goes, God is with me and I will do the thing. And he wraps the cloak around his hand and smacks the river and punches the river in half, much like his master did, to the great amazement and wonder of the 30 blokes on the other side. Like, whoa, holy shit, this guy's got some mad skills. And walks across the riverbed and gets back to them. And then he kind of he seems tired. He kind of seems like, I'm kind of a bit done with this. But the 30 men, the 30 prophets are like, come back to our city of Bethel. It's a nice town, a lovely town. However, our fields are barren and our water is poisoned. Now, I'm thinking, disrupting the flow of the river twice might have had something to do with that, but I'm not talk about that. And so Elisha, now having been gone through the quickening or whatever, goes, okay, cool. But the 30 men say, okay, but where is your master? And he goes, he's gone up to heaven. And they go, well, maybe God drops him off somewhere in a valley or a wood. And Elisha's like, no, he's gone. And they're like, no, but seriously, though, we're going to go and find him. And Elisha's too embarrassed to tell them no. He's just like, oh, okay. Go look for him, I guess. That's fine, I suppose. And so the 30 men go for 3 days to try and find, I guess, the body of Elijah, who they think God dropped from heaven. Like, whoops, shit, butterfingers, plop. And they don't find him. And they come back, and Elisha's like, yeah, I fucking told you so. Like, I told you not to go try and find him. Like, yeah, okay, fine, fair enough. But our town is good and our water is bad. Can you help us? And he's like, yeah, okay. Get me a bowl and put some salt in it. And they do. Because Elisha knows, much like the excellent documentary Idiocracy, that electrolytes are what plants crave. So he puts the salt in the water and he goes, the water is healed and will now be good forever. So the water's fine now, I guess, according to him. And then, after all this, we finally get to the bit that everyone knows. And it's like a fucking footnote. It's like just a thing that happens in the end. After all this river punching and salt shaking and guys on horses made of fire going to heaven, he goes to Mount Carmel, which I like to think is Candyman. It's like, Charlie, come to Candyman. And as he's going there, 42 children, and it is children, like youths, whatever the fuck translation you want to try, 42 youths come out. And for my own honesty, I thought that Elisha was the one to sick the bears on the kids. Not quite. It's not quite like that. Elisha instead curses the 42 youths that are making fun of him being bald. Go up, bald head. Go up, bald head. That's what I say. Bald. I'm like, okay. Yeah, it kind of sucks to be bald, and it's not fun to be made fun of for being bald, but, you know, I'm a big enough man to take it. Why can't you, O prophet of God? And so Elisha's like, I curse you in the name of the Lord. And then 42 kids are mauled by two she-bears. Two she-bears. Two she-bears. I'm sorry, I can't talk. Two she-bears come out of the woods and fucking maul these kids to death. And then Elijah goes to Mount Carmel, and he doesn't make any comment. It's literally a footnote. It's the last 2 sentences of the book. And all I can think of is that Jeremy Clarkson meme, like, oh no! Anyway, and he just fucks off to Mount Carmel while these kids are being mauled by bears. So the whole book is about how he essentially goes through the quickening and can now punch rivers in half. And oh, by the way, fucking bears. Sorry, kids, you just got in the way.